wanted to make a leather jacket that was similar to this in style. Because it is Superboy's outfit, I started by going to my embroidery program, making the biggest. My embroidery machine's been acting weird, so I'm not able to actually stitch this on the jacket yet, but once my machine's back to normal, I will. Here's like a couple minutes of me doing that, because this program's literally just click and there's a stitch, which is fun. Now I'm going to talk about how to actually make this. The pink lines are the normal pattern blocks, so you have to extend the front so it fits over stuff. Then you kind of have to figure out where you want the yoke. Next, you have to extend the armholes in order to make it so that this is a wearable thing. You can actually layer it. For this is all with a 1/4 of an inch seam allowance, because that's what I find easier to do. Next, after this, you have to extend the collar so it actually sits by the neck. Not collar, the neckline is what I'm referring to, so then the collar sits by the neck. Next, I started cutting out my pieces. This is kind of it. You can see the pattern slightly. Next, I had to wind the bobbin. I could only find 2 spools of black thread. Here's the bobbin winding bit that I always add. Here I am sewing the yoke to the front, and then the front to the back, and then sewing the other yoke. I don't know why I didn't just sew both yokes at the same time. That would have been faster and then made everything a bit more uniform. I forgot I had to line this, so I didn't cut out the lining pieces, which made them be slightly different than the main fabric. Here I am attaching the sleeve to the bodice. I don't know why I'm calling it a bodice. Now I have to attach the other sleeve to the jacket. I didn't finish it by doing the sleeve seam yet. It's the other seam I didn't finish, it's this one I did. After this I had to cut out lining, which, as you can tell, my dogs were there. They didn't want to move. They were having a great time just sitting there. Here's what it looked like without a lining and without it attached, and here's what it looks like done. I didn't really like that, so here I am adding seam allowance to the collar. I accidentally added it on the fold too, which I had to then cut out later. This on the last project I had to add seam allowance, and it was like the easiest way to do it because there wasn't a lot of math involved. It's really easy to add seam allowance this way, which is why I do it. Next, I then attached the yoke to the front, like I did before, but this time for the new one. And then, doing all those steps. This time I remembered to cut out the lining, and I made sure it was all the same so there wouldn't be any big gaps. Here I am attaching the front to the back, fully attached, and now I'm doing the sleeve. I am doing the sleeves, which is from the top of the sleeves to the bottom of the shirt, and to the bottom of it. However, the sleeves were actually at different lengths, like they didn't round out even, so once I put it on the doll I actually marked where I wanted to cut the sleeves and did that. They actually look pretty cool, but I think that's because I cut them with pinking shears instead of just normal scissors. Here I am attaching the zipper to it. This was one of the hardest parts of the project because I had to then cut out the zipper on one side because it wasn't even. This was like even harder than trying to make the point stand out and aligning the lining so it was like a good point, which I wasn't really able to do, but it still looked pretty cool. Now here's what it looks like, and it actually turned out really well. I like the way it sits on Our Generation dolls, which are sold at Target, and then the American Girl dolls. It somehow fits better on them by being made for the other one.